In a slowly decaying futuristic city, social class is being determined by the amount of time you spend in a virtual world called the interface. And I'm adjusting my camera. A bit of a rough start this morning. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get a better angle for you here. It's a bit tricky. Okay. Yes, so in a slowly decaying futuristic city, social class is being determined by the amount of time you spend in the virtual world called the interface. Hi guys, my name is Emmanuel and I am the creator of Tales from the Interface, a comic that I've been putting out since 2017. This series has been this show has been going on for maybe 2 years. Has that been 2 years already? Yeah. So for last 2 years, I've been doing this weekly show in which I share my screen and take any questions you guys might have. I usually appreciate all the follows, all the likes, all of that stuff really helps to make this better known to other people. So certainly, if you'd like to share this show or share my comic, it's really appreciated. I would like to welcome a new follower to the Facebook page, Blake. Blake Thomas Morgan. You can see him on the corner there. I know Blake a little bit. He has a site called BlakeBuzz.com and does reviews of comics. So you should definitely check him out. He's also very active on Twitter, so you can check out his comic reviews and his barbecue recipes for some fun. This week I'm currently working on my next book. No, the book number 3 just came out not long ago. I'm really in the beginning stages of book 4. It can be a bit abstract when you look at the pages. It's very rough layouts. I'm trying at this point to make them kind of cement the action in the panels, and there's a big chance that things will move in the final version. I'm also kind of changing my way of doing things, and instead of doing half a book finished and then another half, I'm more thinking of doing the storyboard for the entire book and then finishing each half separately. I'm doing that because I find that there's some holes in the second part, and I'm wondering if I can put some elements of the first part of the book in the second part. Anyway, it's all in my mind there. It's very messed up. But basically what I'm saying is that I might change the script a little bit so that just to make our action flow better in the book, because the first part is very condensed and the second part is a bit loose. So that's kind of what I'm looking at now. I'm gonna have some chats with some friends of mine and review this and see what they think. I think that the first half works, but the second half is a bit weak. So I'm still having thoughts about that. So without further delay, what I'm gonna do today is work on a page that I feel won't change. So I'm kind of I want to show you something that's more interesting to look at visually, rather than trying to show you just having difficulty on screen trying to figure out stuff, and it's kind of boring to look at. So I'm looking at the left page here. I'm sure I want this page. It's really cool and it's very meaningful. So what I want to do here is kind of look at this and try to make a perspective grid and try to make this drawing give it a bit more sense. So I'm gonna start on that. I don't need the right page at all. It just makes things more confusing. Actually, what I'm gonna do is, because this is gonna be a bit complicated for me, I don't want to do it just the freehand. I want to make a grid to kind of see if the chair makes sense. And it's also leaned, which is something I'm never too comfortable doing. So we'll see. So first of all, I want to determine my my horizon. So is that a 2 point? Is that 1 point? I would think it's a 1 point. And it's very centered to the character, so I'm thinking of something like that. I don't know if you guys have been hearing, but cicadas are out to play. Always enjoy hearing them during the day while I work. So it's gonna be a bit like that. The seat should be actually maybe not. Where's my grid? Yeah. I don't know why, but every time you add a perspective grid, it just adds it to the bottom, which is a bit annoying. I'm just gonna lock this. Okay. So if the seat is indeed flat on the surface, I can base it. I can base my perspective grid on that. It's not green. When it's green means that it's not active, so just turn that on. So that would be, the seed is probably a bit too big. So it's going to be sitting on that. Now, these kind of things are always tricky. It's like, it doesn't follow the grid exactly. What I can do, since it's really flat, is just copy one side to the other. That's probably what I'm gonna do. So this one, I kind of want to eyeball it. And what I'm gonna do is, I just said I'm gonna flip the image. So to do that, I'm gonna make sure I have the middle point here. Just gonna do a quick thing just to check what it looks like, and then I can why it doesn't delete. Okay. Yeah, so you can create objects in perspective as well. This is a cool feature of this software. So what I want to do is kind of test how it would look like. So if I duplicate this layer, and then flip it. I think it's flipping the whole image, isn't it? Yeah. Processing. Okay, so one trick for that, to make sure you're not flipping the whole thing, is to do a Control T, and then it's Canva. You need to go and layer it like in Photoshop. So basically, okay, I'm having a blank here. You know, I worked on Photoshop for so long that sometimes transform, okay. And then flip, there you go. Yeah, so you need to find the right spot. It's like in Photoshop, you have an option for flipping the canvas and flipping the, just the layer. So it would look something like that. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna have a seat. Seat would probably be like that. It's almost following perspective, but it's a little bit going back, maybe more. No. It's important to kind of think this through well, because when you do the character on top, you kind of want this to be solid. So just select the half and then do a CV, Control T, and go back to edit, transform, flip. And you can make like shortcuts for this. I don't really use it enough, I think, to make a shortcut that I would probably forget. So I think this is kind of good as a base for my chair. There would be a cushion on top, so I can draw that as well. So I'll just continue these lines. And I'm using the old line as a kind of a reference to draw that cushion. And then I can make a middle line like this. Well, actually, with using perspective, it's gonna just draw the right place. So now I have my middle. I can draw like a kind of support, but that's gonna be hidden by his neck, so it's not really necessary. I want the chair to be a little bit wider. I can do that freehand without too much issue. And now I have a good base. I know pretty much where my character will land. So I can extend this a little bit because I have my guide. I'm using my old line as a guide. And then I can maybe draw a base. It should be longer than his feet, I think. And angled like this. I'm doing this freehand again. I think it's fairly accurate. And then now looking at this, I probably want to raise it a little bit. So I'm gonna unlock this and raise my whole thing. So select move tool, just a bit. Okay, so I have my basic chair, and I'm going to merge that as kind of my base layer for building on top. So the old drawing, I can lock it again and make it more transparent. So I really don't need to see it that much. So chair and then a new layer on top. Now I can try to draw my character on top of that. I should probably make the handles of the chair as well. So they would be connected to the base, so I can just make like this. And that's when it becomes kind of important to use your tool that you have, because I would probably not have drawn this straight. I probably wouldn't have full the correct perspective if I drew this freehand. It's one thing to trust, but it's really easy for your instinct to be wrong. So so the handle would be starting on the side like this. So like this, and then it goes down, connects to the chair, like this. Like this, like this. Okay. Probably clean it up, but I think for my purpose it should do. So I want to kind of start drawing my character. I don't need a perspective guy in here. So his head is here. Body. I can use the perspective guide as a kind of a grid. It's pretty much facing the camera, so I can kind of have a grid to guide my drawing a little bit better. See, I can see that the shoulders are not straight this way. It's kind of a rough guide. Now I'm drawing the logo, but really I shouldn't. There's no real point to do it right now. I think these bars can probably go forward a lot more. So I'm not using any real life measures. I'm just, you know, kind of creating something that makes sense to me. So as I'm laying the character on it, I can say, oh, it doesn't look right, and then try to fix it. So I use a tool as a guide. It just helps to make things just a little bit better. So I wanted to use that. Second one is the base. Yeah, might be too much, we'll see. So let me go back to my character. This is the trick of the cording snake to make perspective or make short shortening on arms. So you're kind of imagining that you're having like a coil, and it helps to make this better. So you would be holding on this fairly straight, very strongly, I would imagine. Something like that. Yeah, I think the grid helps me to align my drawing better. Reminds me that Blake is gonna, the guy, I said that one of the recent follower of the Facebook page is Blake, and he's gonna be doing interviews of comic creators, so it's always interesting to see how other people work. So another thing to check it out, if you check his Twitter, he's gonna tell you all about it. I think the feet should be bigger, definitely. And what I can do here is is just like kind of repeat one side. If one side looks good, then I can copy it on the other. Yeah, that makes more sense. Like this size for the feet. Okay, it's really going forward to the camera here, so it should be much bigger. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is just reduce opacity for my goatee character, and just kind of clean up that that drawing on one side only, and then all I have to do is really flip the canvas. And at this point, it's really, I don't need to do that for the whole drawing, but for, you know, for the purpose of laying out the general shape that I want, I think it's a good tool. You don't want to copy your old drawing, like ink and everything. It's gonna look weird. Is the best word I can find. Like if things are too too much the same. I think you call this the uncanny valley. I just did the wrong thing. I wanted to lock transparency and change the color because it's too much of the same thing. So probably I lock transparency. I want it to be, yeah, like this. See, I just want to clean up a bit. This hand would probably be a bit bigger as well. Can fix that at the same time. They're also coming towards the camera. Okay. So I can flip this. So that's one trick. If you do a transform box before you you actually flip, then you cannot flip the canvas. Which is something I mix sometimes. I mix up sometimes those commands, so the flip canvas is not accessible when you're having transform on, so that's kind of a trick I've been doing since Photoshop. Oh, should have made a copy first. could have drawn the chair as well while I was at it. So there you go. Probably, yeah, like this. And then, you know, as I do the next step, I'm gonna add some variance and the shapes, and it's gonna look and make more sense. So I can merge that. And I no longer need that one. Okay, so next. And next, the chair. I want to make that chair a little bit better. So my character is on its own layer. And now I want to make the chair a little bit more interesting. So I'll just draw one side and flip it. But I do want to make it on a separate layer. And then I really like to use like bright red and blue. And then when I have to use a third color, I never know what to use. I often will go in green, but kind of not happy about it. I don't think it really stands out too much. If I lower the opacity enough, I can use blue again. And I don't need the underdrawing anymore for that. I'm looking at this and his shoulders are too wide as well. I need to reduce that. Well, let me do that first. Actually, what I'm gonna do is undo until this, and then just change the shoulders and reflip again. So, let me go back to this. He's laying on the chair, so his shoulders shouldn't show like that much. Hey, thank you for following Dexter A11. I believe a follower from Twitch. Hey, I was always searching for an artist drawing comics in English. Finally, I found you. Hey, thank you, Dexter. Actually, I'm a French speaker, but I do my show in English. Most of my readers, I do a webcomic called Tales from the Interface. Most of my readers are Anglophones, so you know, I do my show in English for their benefit. So what I'm doing right now is I'm working on a page from my next book. And I'm kind of doing a symmetrical drawing, so it's an easy trick so that you do one side and then you can copy it over the other side. Okay, so what I did, because my shoulder was too wide, especially since I'm kind of drawing in perspective, so he shouldn't be so wide because he's laying down, so his shoulder won't reach out that far. So I think I'm gonna be better now. So I wanna duplicate this layer and then flip it and see how it looks. Yeah, exactly. He's on a recliner. And just give me a minute. I'll show you the sketch underneath. He's on a recliner chair like a dentist chair. Yes, exactly. So there you go. And if I show you the underdrawing, it's right here. So I was working from the sketch. It's very pale now. So I'm kind of redoing this. And just making the perspective better. So I just lowered the opacity and locked it, and then I used the perspective grid to draw a a better chair, like a more correct chair. And then I redrew my character on it, and now I'm kind of going step by step and just making it more solid. And I think now he's pretty good. So I'm thinking of working on the chair now. So this is my chair, and I just want to draw the chair. I'm gonna draw like one side and then flip it. Thank you. This is gonna be a cool page, and one of those like wow page. Like Todd McFarlane always said, like you need to at least 2 wow page in a 20-page book. My book will be 48 pages, so this is like the first half. I believe I have more than 2 wow moments. Okay, so good. It's always good to turn off the perspective, otherwise all your lines are gonna follow it. It's good to make a basic drawing, but you don't want to use it for final drawing because it looks a bit fake, too straight. Sometimes I will for like small background details. Well, yeah, thank you. Well, the best way to learn is really to do. So, I'm using this program. I don't know if you want to try digitally or traditionally. The program I'm using now is called Clip Paint Studio, and it's really made for artists who draw comics. It's really cool. You can see on the left here all my pages, so I can have a view. This is like the EX version, so it's a little bit more expensive, but it allows you to see all the pages of your comic. And then you can also lay out the text inside. It's really good. I worked on Photoshop for since 1994 or something like that. But everybody was saying, a lot of professional comic artists were saying that this was so much better, and in fact it is. There's so many tools that are much better in this than Photoshop for making comics. I still use Photoshop for my job, which is I'm a graphic designer, and it's great for that. But for making comics, I think Clip Paint far surpassed what Photoshop was doing. If you're doing a standalone drawing, it's still good, but if you're doing comics, yeah, you need Clip Paint. Oh, I'm doing the other side now. I said I would just do one side, but it's not that big. I guess I can. Okay, so it's gonna be something like that, and then the chair shows a bit here. It's folded up here, and I'm not gonna go into too much detail on this. This is still an early version of the comic, but I kind of wanted to do something that was more interesting for the channel, so I chose a page that is a bit more wow into it, because there's a lot of work inside that's it can be a bit boring to watch. So there's probably going to be there will be some details on it, but I don't want to go too much into detail at this stage. But this is a very good base drawing for what I'm going to be doing next, which is turning on back the perspective grid. It looks cooler than Photoshop. I don't know, but certainly more convenient. I think the UI is a bit weird at times, maybe because I'm so used to Adobe products. But the functionality is there, and that's really what I want is functionality. So all the coloring tools, like the fill tools, the lasso tool, the text I would say probably Photoshop has better tools for typography, but for the dialogue bubbles, this is far better. Unless you're like building them from scratch and everything. I've only been using this software for maybe 2 years, so there's still something I don't exactly know how to do well. Okay, so next up, I turned on my perspective grid because there's a bunch of like instruments and stuff that are kind of coming out at him. So what I'm gonna do is just make a rough grid of how things should be aligned about. I don't think they need to be perfect, but I do want it to kind of go towards them. So I'm just making some grids because I want the tools kind of aiming at him and create this kind of effect that you're seeing here. So just, and I drew on my perspective grid again. I always do that. I don't like to do that because then it's kind of stuck to that layer, and then you need to turn it off. Anyway, it's hard to explain why, but don't draw on a perspective guide layer. Okay, new layer. This and just a general guideline, and then I can draw some funky tools on top. All right. And I'm gonna make them red. I kind of want them to be aimed at the head. I don't think I need to follow exactly the grid. I think as long as I go outside, I should be good. So like in Photoshop, you can make straight lines like this. Just trying to create some strange instruments. It is tough to manage layers. I often end up with like hundreds of layers because I create layers all the time because I kind of layer stuff on top of each other, and then I create a lot of layers. It helps to name them, but of course I always forget to. But yeah, naming them is probably the best. Otherwise, using folders, trying to make sense of it all. You can see in Clip Paint, this is not obvious on this page, but if I go to the right page, all these panels are like inside their own like kind of obvious folder. You can tell which panel it is quite easily. So I try to keep my information, all the stuff from my layer inside that panel. It's all grouped together, so it's not like too hard to find. So so you've been hanging on Twitch for a long time, Dexter? I haven't done it for too long, and kind of doing my thing, and I'm happy when people join in. I visited a few channels, but I'm having kind of trouble finding people who do the same that I do. I really like a sci-fi, and so I'm always looking for more not fantasy, more sci-fi artists to follow. So if you know any I started so you have your own Twitch channel, I imagine. So what do you do? I imagine you're an artist. So you do, I imagine you do comics. So what kind of comics? Or maybe you play games. There's a lot of gamers on Twitch as well. Sadly, I kind of had to give up gaming because my time is very limited. I prefer to drawing. Oh, you don't stream? Okay. Yeah, I had to give up gaming. It was, I just thought I don't have a lot of time for myself, and I wanted to be focused on making something, not consuming something. Sure, yeah, we can you can probably do a stream together or something at one time if you want. It's always fun. I've done some with some guys. Tried some collaborative drawing, stuff like that. Can be challenging as well. Depending on what the subject is. There are some things that I'm much better at drawing, obviously. Like I'm trying to get better at drawing machines, and I feel my organic drawings are fairly good, but I feel my machines kind of lack something. So I want to improve that. I'm a big fan of robots, but somehow I never really managed to draw robots well, which is frustrating. So I think that works pretty well. Those arms, they look cool. Yeah, exactly. Draw this character without looking at it. Just try to draw it by memory, like some famous character, and then you try to you try to make them up, and sometimes you can reach some pretty funny. It can become pretty funny. The one stream I did, we kind of did whatever, and it was okay, but I think it could have been more fun if we had more challenges. And one of my recent followers also who got my book, he's very active on Twitter, and he's doing a great job there. and always has a ton of ideas for little like activities and stuff that you can do with other streamers. It's a nice platform for sure. Thank you. It's, as I said, it's one of those wow panel. You need those in a story. My first comics were almost silent, almost no dialogues, and lately, I've been putting more language, and you need to balance it out. You don't want just talking heads for a whole comic, even when you have something to say. To me, anyway, I don't want to read a comic like that. So, I'm trying hard to balance action and dialogue. So, if you look at the whole book, there's like this is talk, but I try to break it down and have like big drawings, and there's also a sequence of action like that's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages long, and then another one. But I said it in the beginning. I think this 24 pages is too compact, and the next 24 is a bit loose. So I'm wondering. I think the whole story makes sense as a whole, but maybe I can cut some of the dialogues out to have more action. Like, I think maybe 1 or 2 page could be moved. I'm thinking how I can do that. So my final in total I'm gonna have 5 books. So this is book 4 I'm working on now. The address is if you want to check, because this is also a webcomic, so you're welcome to go read the beginning. It's the address is at the bottom of the screen, tfti.inkorporate.com, and you can read for free until I think now we're half of book 3 that's online. The other half will come out every 2 weeks. I put a new page on there. So and I do that because this is really kind of my rhythm. I can only do a new page every 2 weeks. So I put, they're all done a long time ago, but I build myself a buffer so I don't have to stress too much if I'm missing a guideline, a deadline or something. So they're related in the plots. Yeah, so the world of the interface. So I'll give you the pitch. So in a slowly decaying futuristic city, social class is determined by the amount of time you spend in a virtual world called the interface. So what it is that this guy that you're seeing on the screen, he's kind of a visitor of these virtual worlds. So when in the first few books, he kind of visits a few of those worlds, which are kind of independent stories. They don't really they kind of stand on their own. So book 1 and book 2 are mostly these stories, but we kind of start seeing him more and more. And in book 3, it's all in his world, and you're seeing what kind of world he's living in, which is a very gruesome dystopia. And in this book, it's kind of a merge of both things. So he's going to be in the games, and because the interface is providing games and entertainment in general, so it's kind of a virtual world at the same time. So he's kind of recruited by this company that provides him games to play. So in this book, he's playing those games, and his girlfriend is kind of being estranged from him, and she's exploring other ways to kind of get entertained, if you will, or explore yourself. It's she discovered this huge archive in the underground full of books, and she's kind of starts to read them. And so anyway, you check it out, and I'm glad to have any comments you might have. I got pretty good reviews for it. Like just one of the followers that you see on top here, Blake, did an amazing review on my last book. So I'm pretty happy with all it's going on. It's catching up. People are getting more and more into it. So another 2 tools here. So I don't necessarily need to kind of do everything here. I think it's kind of enough for now, but for sure when I do the next steps, I'll be adding a lot more details into it. But it kind of... I kind of want to work on the character in the back. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been working on that plot probably since early 2000. I tried to write a novel, but I'm more an artist than a writer. It was easier for me to kind of create the worlds when I draw them. So this guy on the right is called Buttocks. He's kind of a lackey of the main interface guy called Alloway. His face is way too big. So like I try to position him in the perspective grid, which is not necessarily easy. Oh, and I haven't seen the time. I kind of started late, but it's kind of over my time. So I do this stream every Saturday from 10:30 to 11:30. So I'm kind of way past my timeline. As they say, time fly when you're having fun. I'll be stopping here. So thank you so much for joining me, Dexter. I look forward to hearing from you. And if you have any comments on the comic, I'll be very happy to hear them. I'll thank you for your following the channel. I appreciate all the likes, all the subscribe. If you're watching this after the fact, you're always welcome to leave a comment, and I'll be glad to read it after and answer you. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy your Saturday. It's nice and sunny here, and my family and me, we're gonna go hike on a nearby mountain, so that should be a lot of fun. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoy yourself, And we'll. Can you tell me which country you? Oh. Yes, I'm in Canada. So this is early morning for me. Like, or by early morning. It's mid morning, like 10:30. Yeah. Oh, I would love to visit India. That's a great country. I've been to China, but never India, and I would love to visit it one day. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So anyway, I'll see you next Saturday. Bye, guys.